So we're going to use Copilot to do some capital budgeting and some sensitivity analysis. So to get started, we'll click on Start a New Chat, and we'll ask it our first scenario. We're going to use internal rate of return as our metric for capital budgeting, where the year zero cash outflow is $50,000 and the cash inflow annual is $10,000. So let's go ahead and ask it the internal rate of return and see if it'll compute that for us. It tells us, hey, it needs to use a different library, and if I need assistance, so I'm going to send this through twice, and it's now going to use a different library and tell us that the answer is 9.2%. Sometimes it's good to know a little bit about a Python. NumPy is an example of a number program within Python, so the P stands for Python there. But essentially what we're going to try to do next is allow some things to vary. And we're going to say, hey, instead of 50,000 to start, let's let it go between 40 and 90,000 for that initial investment. And we're going to go ahead and tell it what the step or the increment is. And the year 1 through 7 cash flows will go from, instead of 10,000, 8 to 20,000, and ask it to compute the internal rate of return. So it's going to provide a table for us. It says, hey, if the cash outflow is 40,000 and the cash inflows are these various amounts, then here's the internal rate of return. And you can guess as the cash outflow goes up, it's going to be a greater return. And so here are all those scenarios that we provided. Now what I'd like to ask it to do is to provide that as a heat map, so I can see it all at once. And sometimes it complains about that. Sometimes you have to send it through twice. But hopefully it will provide that for us. And so here is the heat map visualization. And so you can kind of see as it gets darker blue, it becomes higher. So if the cash outflow, which is here, and cash inflow, which is here, if this is really low and the annual return is really high, it's going to be a 46% rate of return. Where in contrast, if the initial investment is really low and our annual return is only 8,000, we're going to be in the negative territory and all the increments in between. So we're able to provide that. It gives us a little more detail of what's there. And now we're just going to ask it to output it. Perhaps we want to share it with someone else. And so let's output it as a PNG file and as the heat map. So it's going to provide that for us. Again, sometimes it gets a little lazy and doesn't want to provide it quite the same way, but it looks like, here we go. So we can click on this and it will be in our downloads folder. Now, it did not follow what I asked it to do. It just gave it the name generated image, and so that didn't really work well for us there. I asked it for a specific name and it didn't follow my instructions, so we'd have to go and rename that. We could also ask it to output the prompts into Microsoft Word, or just ask it to output it to the screen, and then we're able to download that file. So there's that file, and so we click on it and it will show up here, and this one did name it as I requested. So that completes this lab.